Months ago, when we finished the welding on the second aft plate replacement, we thought we were done with welding the hull. We'd replaced 4 hull plates by this point, as well as 2 inches of deck all the way around both sides of the boat, and we were very excited to be finished welding. Unfortunately, assuming that we were finished, as we're about to find out, was very wrong. I'm Taryn, this is Logan, and this is Max. Our life rarely goes as planned, and this story is no different. But we are determined to rebuild our beautiful steel boat, even stronger than she was before. And we're bringing you along with us. Things seemed to be moving forward with our project. We were feeling like we were getting close to painting the bilges and prepping more things to go back in the water. After weeks of chipping paint out of the bilges, we're almost at the point where we're prepping for paint. And then we found spots of rust that were buried beneath layers of paint. And they were worse than anything we had found in the bilges so far. And suddenly, things weren't looking as good anymore.
That was a hell of a lot more rust than I thought was in there. The paint really hides stuff. I'll have to measure that pit and see how deep it is.
What'd that one say?
2.7.
Oh. Balls. We ended up with 2 spots that were too deep to leave, and we determined that we needed to break out the welder again. What we're going to do is fill the water tank with as much water as we need to in order to get that bottom section all covered so that we don't burn the paint that we just put in there when we do this welding. Of course, because we live where we live, it's difficult to get water here that we can actually put in the tank because everybody around here is on well and all of the well water around here is contaminated with something. Everybody's got filters on their water in order to just be able to drink it, and we don't want that stuff in our tanks. Like, the water here has, the water everywhere around here has sulfur in it, and the water here is also high in iron, so we don't want to use the water here. The water at the house where we're living, also high sulfur content, and we actually had an issue. We owned the house next door, and there was sulfur fixating bacteria that somehow bypassed our pipes and our filter system. And we ended up with our entire house just smelling like rotten eggs for months and months and months until we figured out what the issue was. So we definitely don't want to have that problem in the boat. So we don't want to use that water. All that meant that we had to figure out who we could actually take water from, and we ended up driving 20 minutes down the road to fill up 5 different jugs just so we could get 100 liters of water into the boat. Logan's put a new ball valve in to make sure that the water doesn't leak out of the boat once we've got it in, well, into another part of the boat. So now we just got to get that into the tanks, and if that's not enough, I'm going to be running down the road again to go fill all those jugs and haul them back here. So fingers crossed it works. And then we also don't know whether or not this is actually going to stop the paint from burning inside the tank. We're just kind of going on a hope and a prayer here. You can see that where the pitting is, it's not right against the tank. There's like a weld in between the tank and where the pitting is. So the goal with putting the water in the tank is that we'll cool the metal down enough that it won't actually burn the paint off that's inside the tank. The stuff on the outside, it's whatever. It's easy to paint, but as you guys saw, painting the interior of the tank was a giant pain in the butt. And then on top of that, we've got everything glued down again. So we don't want to have to take those lids apart. So if we can get water in there, water dissipates heat really quickly and really efficiently. So it should keep the steel a lot cooler, which means that the paint should stay a lot cooler and it shouldn't burn off. That's the goal anyway, especially because we're not welding directly on the paint. So, anyway, that's what we're doing. Fingers crossed it works. We ended up needing 300 gallons of water to fill the tank high enough. And that meant that I spent 3 hours driving back and forth just to get that water.
Yeah, it's just over the limber holes.
So that means it should be like just above where the weld's going?
Yep.
Okay.
Should be. I mean, this corner's higher, but I'm not welding that close to where it... Yeah. When I ground that out, you could definitely see where the hole was, so. Alright, this is what it looks like when it's prepped with the grinder, or with the die grinder. You can see right there, there's a big deep pit. That's what I was measuring at just over 3 mil. So that's almost through the hole. So that's why we're welding this. And we have a few other spots there, and we'll just run a bead across like this, and that should fill up all the bad stuff.
Since the welder was out anyway and we were going to have to do some repainting, we decided to weld the deeper pits we had found in the V-berth cabinet. They welded really well and were done pretty fast. The pits next to the water tank, on the other hand, were another story. That's a hole in the hull, and a fairly big one too. Luckily, filling this hole turned out to be a lot easier than it could have been, and it wasn't too long before we had a solid hull again. It's a good thing we decided to weld that, that's for sure.
As soon as I struck an arc there, it burnt right through. Like there was no material left. So I had ground it out with the die grinder, and I didn't see anything at the time, but I was waiting for Taryn to go back and forth with the water because we filled up the water tanks, and by the time we got the 300 liters into the tanks, I went back and looked at it, and there was 2 dark spots where I had ground back to weld, and I think it was 2 pinholes. So yeah, really happy we got that done.
So this is the final product out here. So after welding inside, Logan came out here and ground out a little bit, and then welded the outside. So yeah, that should be good and strong again, hopefully. Not that big of a patch, but it's right on the edge of all that stuff we just repainted, so that'll have to be blasted and then repainted. The second patch started out looking really good, but then quickly deteriorated. That's a big hole. And then it kept getting worse. The hole just refused to fill, and Logan was chasing the weld around. At one point it looked like it was filled, but spraying water on it quickly revealed a pinhole. And at one point I grabbed some of the ceramic tiles we had used for the deck replacement and put them on, which helped a little bit, but definitely didn't solve the problem. Alright, Logan just turned the welder off, so let's see what it looks like underneath. Well, the hole's filled. It burnt a corner of that guy. That's interesting. So you can see there now, that's the bottom of it. So what Logan's gonna have to do is come back out here and grind that down and weld over top of it again like he did on this one, and then grind it flush. That was definitely a bigger hole than the other one, so that's pretty frustrating. So there's a few spots of like porosity that you can see from this side, kind of holes with slag in them. It took us 4 hours to fill this weld by the time we were done. Looks a lot better.
not as good as I wanted it to be, but like you
No
could
holes anymore.
totally tell where I welded up here.
Oh yeah.
That spot kind of started to burn through because I held it too long. I was trying to build up a
It
puddle.
wasn't bad though, it was just like a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That should be the last welding, other than when we put stuff back on the boat, because we've pretty much exposed everything now. Yeah. They're just, I mean, we've said this numerous times, and then we keep finding stuff, but hopefully this time we're right. Hopefully this time that actually is the last of it, and we're done with problem areas. So yeah, this is coming to you probably later than the holidays, but I hope you guys had great holidays. I hope this is coming to you with better luck than we're having right now. And welcome to 2024. Hopefully we all get to see more time on the water. Thanks for watching, and an especially big thanks to all our patrons for sticking with us through these projects. We appreciate you.